Hold on to your wallets. Gas prices are heading to an all-time high record. CNBC reports increased demand and reduced supply is quickly driving gas prices higher. The national average for a gallon of gas hit $4 and just shy of 1 cent, about $4, the highest since July of 2008, according to data from AAA. The average price of a gallon of gasoline will likely set a new all-time record within a day, according to GasBuddy, and it ain't stopping there, my friends. Inflation is going to go through the roof. Maybe you'll listen to my previous segment, but oh yeah, it's going to get bad. And here's the best part. Apparently, according to a writer over at Axios, we're energy independent. Really? As there is a debate right now because we are importing oil from Russia. No. We're not energy independent. And the weird thing is, when you try and look up information on if we had ever been, well, it's hard to know exactly if we were perfectly energy independent. PolitiFact says it's only half true when Trump said we were very energy independent. That very is suspect. It's doing a lot of work. The reality is, we were mostly energy independent. During the Trump administration, we were a net exporter of oil. I believe we were the biggest producer. Now, whether or not you want to play politics and argue about who is right and who is wrong and how you define certain things, I think is pointless. I'll show you some charts and some articles breaking down what it means to be energy independent. That's fine. The reality is the buck stops with Joe Biden. And I want to blame him for everything. I think that's stupid. I think Joe Biden is a bad person for a lot of reasons, but I'm not going to pretend that everything is his fault, but he's certainly the man at the wheel. And for that, we have to criticize bad decisions. The reality is right now, I don't think he is doing a very effective job as a leader for a variety of reasons, and things are about to get a whole lot worse. You want to talk about record high gas prices? Wait until they cut off Russian oil imports. We are heading in that direction, and it is going to get expensive. So let me tell you what I've been doing. I'm not going to give you any advice. Over the past couple of years, you periodically buy some gold and silver. I don't think gold and silver will be worth anything at all if there truly is a Fallout-style apocalyptic scenario. That's why they trade bottle caps in the video games. You think anyone's going to want your piece of gold? They're going to be like, bro, I need food. But in the event that there is damage to fiat currencies, to a certain degree, gold and silver will retain some of their value. The problem is, even in the event of a major war, I don't see gold and silver as being all that great. I do think they're good. Good. I do think it's important to have if you can get your hands on some. So I'm not telling you to buy some. I'm saying that's why I bought some, being very careful there. I think that gold and silver can be a good hedge. I think cryptocurrency is an excellent hedge. And I'll tell you one thing, if the apocalypse happens and it is like Fallout 3, Russia needing oil and China invade Alaska, and then someone fires a nuke, and then I'll tell you what will be worth nothing is Bitcoin. How are you going to trade with no international network? People with hard wallets or whatever, people are going to be trading food and water. That's what's going to be really valuable. Tools. Some people say bullets. Well, I've been buying a lot of those too, but not necessarily like to think the apocalypse coming. When the shortages hit during COVID, it was really difficult to come by bullets, and it's kind of worrying. And now we're hearing, I think it's Remington sent 1 million bullets to Ukraine. I could be wrong about that, and fact check me on that. But that's crazy to me. So you take a look at what's happening, and I'll tell you this. I think based on what we're seeing, the next steps are going to be Joe Biden, the Democrats and Republicans, bipartisan support, cutting off Russian oil. It does make sense. But then we get George Takei, and he's getting slammed because he was like, everybody, you should accept higher prices for freedom. And people are like, yo, how about no? How about we don't get involved in Russia's war with Ukraine? But America World Police, they have to do it. You can expect double-digit inflation. That's what they're predicting, double-digit inflation. Now, truth be told, if we calculate inflation based on how we used to back in like the 80s, inflation is as bad as it's been since World War II. You may be seeing all these articles and they're like, inflation is worse than it's ever been since the 80s, but they keep saying that over and over again. I'm like, how is it that you keep saying the same thing? In December, it was worse since the 80s, January, since the 80s, February. Okay, we get it. It's getting gradually worse, but here's the issue. When we calculated inflation back in the 80s, we had a set standard for how we did. Times have changed. Now we have a different standard of calculation. It is meaningless to say inflation is worse than is the worst it's been since the 80s. I know I've said it, but upon looking at the data and going over it, making the argument, it makes no sense because they're two different metrics. If we were going to calculate today based on the same way we did it in the 80s, it is worse than it was in the 80s. Granted, I was not alive in the early 80s, and I was born in 86, so far be it for me to have experienced and know exactly what was going on with inflation. But it was really, really bad. And then when you look at when you look at the metrics for today, it might not even make sense to compare the two numbers in any sense. Because I think car costs are a huge contributor to inflation of the overall number, and it's because we can't get computer chips. So what do you think is going to happen when China invades Taiwan? Man, with oil trade being restricted, I think we're in for the global economy is about to crash at 100 miles an hour into a brick wall. And I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what you should do. I don't know where you live. I don't know how you should live. I'll tell you this. I went out to the middle of nowhere. I got some chickens. Chicken City is live right now. That's right, on YouTube, Chicken City. Because we want to get some of our food from our own sources. And it's because being self-reliant is extremely important as we head into this. Look, the cost of eggs are going to go up. Well, I got my own chickens, and they just eat bugs and feed. The cost of feed will go up. But one trick I was told is that you take a piece of wood and you put it on the ground and leave it. You put a bunch of wood down, and then every day you pull up one of the pieces of wood, and the bugs are under there, and then they all go and eat all the bugs. And that's one way to do it. Those bugs become eggs. I eat the eggs. And then eventually, maybe the chickens too. I don't know if we're going to eat our chickens because they're kind of the star of a reality show called Chicken City. But let's read about what's going on with these gas prices. I talked a little bit about it in the earlier segment, but I want to talk to you about whether or not we truly were or are energy independent. CNBC reports with gasoline prices at a 14-year high, it's hard to imagine paying even one more at the pump. 1 more cent. On Sunday, the national average for a gallon of gas hit $4.009, the highest since July of 2008. Here we go. So the national average, we can go back to January of 2020. Look at this. Right after, in January of 2020, under Trump, prices were way low. Joe Biden took over, and it's been a sharp and steady increase. I remember when Trump was in office and we got news that gas prices fell below $2. And I was just like, whoa, wow. When I first started driving when I was 18, gas was like $1.80 or something. I can't remember. And then I remember when I got to $2 and everyone was freaking out like $2 is so high. Well, it's going to be $7. Now, I'm not even playing around. In California, I think it's already in one county. I think in LA, actually. Take a look at this in Daily Mail. LA County, look at this. Gas spikes to nearly $7 a gallon in LA County as average national price tops $4. Take a look at this, man. At least one station at the corner of Olympic Boulevard in Fairfax was advertising regular unleaded for $6.99. Plus was $7.19. Woo! The exponential inflation we will see when gas prices get this high. Diesel, $6.35. That is going to smack you in the face. $6.31 in LA County. What is this one? Nationally, we can see this picture. I don't know where this one's from. $5.59. Man, that's truly something to behold. Let me tell you. The thing about gas prices is that for every, penny it goes up, you're exponentially losing gas, right? It's probably obvious, but if you need to spend, if you got 15 gallons to fill up your car, every time it goes up, multiply the cost of, the cost per gallon by 15, and that's what your added cost is going to be. So if gas is $5 a gallon, and you're looking at, $15 a gallon, you got, what is that, $75 to fill up. Now you go up to $10 a gallon, or let's just say $7. So you're adding $2 on top. All right, another $30, another $30. That is hours of labor for your average person, or at least an hour and a half. But we're talking about right now. Look, $7's really high, but gas was at $2? Actually, let me pull that chart back up. Take a look at this. In April of 2020, $1.77. That's incredible. That means you were filling up your gas for your tank for $35 or less. Actually, probably $28. Now today, at $3.60, man, $45 to $50 a gallon. Man, I remember back when I used to work for American Eagle Airlines, and I had to drive to work. I didn't make that much money. I was making $10, $11 an hour. So when gas hit $2, I was like, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to go out because I got to drive to work back and forth every single day. And it's like a 30-mile drive because you got to drive from your house to the airport. 60 miles every single day. And I'm like, dude, that is a lot of money. And when it went up, I could see it. I remember at one point I couldn't buy shoes because it was like gas or shoes. And then what do you think about people's food? What about people's rent? This is going to hit literally everything. Take a look at this right now. 10 states. California's average is $5.34. Hawaii is $4.69. Nevada, $4.59. Oregon, $4.51. Washington, $4.44. Alaska, $4.39. Illinois, $4.30. Connecticut, $4.28. New York, $4.26. Pennsylvania, $4.23. Wow, man. I told you guys that we were in the previous segment, we went up to central PA just to hang out and go somewhere, different, I guess. And we saw gas at like $4.50. We saw diesel over $5. And so we have a truck. We have a diesel truck because we use it for pulling the trailer and stuff. So we use that. And that was brutal, man. We were filling up one of our cars and the bill was like $100 because it was like 10 gallons or something. It was crazy. I'm sorry. That was way off. We didn't fill up the whole thing. The bill would have been over $100, something like that. I don't know. Some ridiculous number. Let me tell you. A lot of people will keep saying that under Donald Trump, we were energy independent. All right, well, here's an interesting article from Axios. February 19th, 2022. The U.S. is now energy independent, they say. What do you mean we're energy independent? Oh, check this out. For decades, politicians have talked about the U.S. achieving energy independence, a seemingly elusive goal of producing enough fuels to avoid relying on the rest of the world to fill up gas tanks and keep electricity flowing. It's elusive no more. The U.S. produced more petroleum than it consumed in 2020, and the numbers were essentially in balance in 2021, according to the Energy Information Administration. Bro, do you even read? First and foremost, it's funny that they're writing this article 2 years after energy independence. Maybe they didn't want to write it under Donald Trump. The reason is consumption dropped under COVID. Production also fell. So, sure, under Donald Trump, we massively increased production. But the truth be told, since around what appears to be like 2008, we've been dramatically increasing oil production. It's not just Trump's doing. But let me show you this. From the U.S. Energy Information Administration, we can see that in 2020, we were actually exporting oil. Check it out. They say that, let me see if I can get the hard number. Around January of 2020, this is before COVID, mind you, we were at minus 364,000 barrels per day. And then by April, we were at minus 463, minus 1,475,000. So that's a million plus barrels being sent out. Then into later in 2020, we did start importing more oil. And now we can see under Joe Biden, we have gradually been increasing the amount of oil we are importing. Now, truth be told, I'm not going to blame Biden for all of this. I think there's a ridiculous political game being played where people are like, under Donald Trump, we were energy independent. Mostly, yes. I think it's fair to say it's a mostly true thing. Now, what does PolitiFact say? They say, what do they say? I say half true. Half true is better than mostly false. I think it's mostly true. And I think it's mostly true because we're not playing this game where it's like we're going to count pennies. Okay, well, for the most part, we were at like some substantially high number of energy independence, but energy isn't just oil. It's a lot of different things. Under Donald Trump, we did dramatically increase production. Gas was very, very cheap. Keystone was well underway, and people expected supply to outpace demand. That also helped keep prices low. Wikipedia, on their section on energy independence, says, in May 2017, Donald Trump promised complete energy independence. In early December 2018, it was reported the U.S. has turned into a net exporter of oil, thus breaking nearly 75 continuous years of dependence on foreign oil. That is to say, if that is true, in 2018, the U.S. became energy independent based strictly on petroleum. In March 2019, crude oil prices regained momentum after reports showed an unexpected drop in U.S. fuel supplies. The American Petroleum Institute reported domestic crude inventories declined 2.58 million barrels the previous week. The U.S. Energy Information Administration was due to report on the official numbers, blah, 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 blah. Net exporter. 2018, and they say that it was, let's see, make sure I get this right. This compared with net imports of about 3 million barrels a day on average previously during 2018, and the prior annual peak of more than 12 million a day was confirmed by the U.S. Information Administration. They say the U.S. sold overseas a net of 211,000 barrels of crude and refined products such as gasoline and diesel. This means if the U.S. was selling more oil, this country was back on track. You see, kind of the way things work here in the U.S. is that when you want to buy oil, you got to use the dollar. It's the reserve currency. Everyone's got to buy dollars. So if you're the EU, buy dollars with euro, and then use the dollars to buy oil. The U.S., print money and tax the people and take it. And I'm oversimplifying. I get it. But it's basically that. If we can just control the flow of our own money and use it to buy whatever we want, do we really care? Under Donald Trump, we were actually selling more oil. That meant that the U.S. was strengthening its economy, period. We weren't as reliant on fiat. Trump seems to have been fixing this crooked, broken system. But of course, the powerful elites can't let that stand. So once Joe Biden gets back in office, they basically reverse everything. Not everything, but a lot. And now we're back to that dirty game. Take a look at this from PolitiFact. They say, Donald Trump stated in a 2019 speech, the United States is very energy independent. They go on to say that President Donald Trump, eager to make good on a campaign promise, claimed we were energy independent, saying we are ending decades of foreign energy reliance to unleash the blessings of American energy independence. Moments later, said we are very energy independent. While it's not accurate to say the U.S. has already kicked its reliance on foreign sources of energy, the country is moving in this direction. Now, I want to point out, is anyone truly 100% independent? If someone said, I'm an independent individual, we'd be like, okay, you still do rely on some things, but we get it. What Trump said very. He didn't say completely. And I think the point of what he was saying is that the United States, for the most part, is energy independent. There are some areas we can improve upon. It's kind of what Trump does. If Trump said, we are today 100% completely energy independent. I just did like a weird transition of Trump's voice, but you get the point. So they say it's half true. Why don't they just say mostly true? Why don't they say technically true? Why don't they say mostly true and say, well, to be honest, Trump said the word very. We don't think he was trying to claim that we were completely, but for a lot of reasons, it's fair to say that we were energy independent. I think so. And even right now, it's not completely wrong. A lot of people have said Joe Biden's screwing us over. And my question is, what specifically is your issue with what Joe Biden's done? I'll tell you mine. Banning Keystone. That did not reduce supply, but it did increase demand. I think it was a bad move. As recently as I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, Joe Biden shut down oil and gas leases over climate crisis BS. That was a bad move. These things are harming us at a time when gas is through the roof. What Joe Biden and these Democrats want to do, it's the Democrat agenda, is stop production here in the U.S. to a certain degree. And then they can just buy from other countries. It has a lot to do with environmental factors. They can claim, look at all the good we do for our environment while we import the more destructive elements that we don't like from other countries. We don't pollute here or produce plastics. No, you get them from China and they pollute and produce plastics. Under Donald Trump, he was getting rid of environmental protections to allow companies to return to the U.S. and begin production, which was better for the American worker. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like it. The point is that's the reality. And now we are likely to see inflation hitting double digits. So I tell you this, what is worse, the potty mouth orange man or Sleepy Joe and you spending $4 a gallon on gas? Were the mean tweets really worth it, man? This is what I was talking about. Look, Trump is a nasty dude. He's a mean guy. He's nice in a lot of ways. He's generous to a lot of people, but boy, does the dude not know how to keep his own mouth shut to save his own career. Certainly it's worked for him to a certain degree. But I can't tell you how many people I met who said, I wish he didn't talk that way. I wish he didn't tweet. Donald Trump tweeting was good for him in a lot of ways. It allowed him to bypass media narratives and lies. But the dude really did have a potty mouth. And you know what? I don't care. The dude can say whatever stupid nonsense he wants if it means that I know my friends and my family are getting cheaper gas. Yeah. I personally would like to see us transition to electric vehicles. Then the question remains, how do we produce that electricity? Well, coal power plants mostly. We do have some nuclear reactors, wind and stuff like that, but we do need better sources of generating energy instead of just relying on fossil fuels. But you know the thing about fossil fuels is they work all the time. And therein lies the big problem. Could this really just be about Joe Biden's climate agenda? Well, ABC News said so. Bipartisan pressure has been building for days to halt Russian energy imports. There are signs the Biden administration is ready to embrace the concept, though not without worries about gas prices and what such a move would mean for the president's climate agenda. Okay, here's some problems. Wind doesn't work when there's no wind. Solar doesn't work when there's no sun. Geothermal tends to be pretty reliant, but we don't have a whole lot of that. I guess you can dig deep enough. You need you need some volcanic activity. Tidal energy is potentially a good opportunity. Tidal generators are pretty awesome. You put them in the coast, and then when the tide comes in and goes out, the increasing water will spin the turbine, generating energy. But these renewable systems, as they call it, I don't think renewable is the right answer. It's just more like environmental energy capture. They only work in certain circumstances. I am a big fan of all of these things, particularly solar energy. I think it's fantastic. I've got solar, but it's expensive. Not perfect. We're doing better. The reason we have fossil fuels is to supplement, because we can keep a power plant running all day, 24/7, basically, throughout the night with wind and cold and whatever, by burning fossil fuels. You want to get an electric car? Fine. But you're charging it based on burning fossil fuels. And it's hilarious because sometimes it's less efficient. I saw, we can turn fossil fuel directly into kinetic energy, or you can turn the fossil fuel into kinetic energy, which spins a turbine, which generates a current, which then goes into a car, and there's all a diminishing return across the board. There's a funny meme where an electric car charging station was being powered by a diesel generator, and everyone just posting the meme, like laughing about it. I don't know if it's real, but it looked real. I don't know. The fact is, it's not perfect. If we can switch to energy generation through renewable or environmental means, I think that would be good, because American energy independence is paramount. How can we get to be a net oil exporter? Try and offset as much as we can, not all of it, with renewable energies. That's why I was a big fan of the Green New Deal when they were like investing into renewable energy sources. I was like, okay. And then AOC comes out and she's like, and free college and free healthcare. And I'm like, wait, what? That has nothing to do with building a bunch of wind turbines. Well, that's why we can't have nice things, because of people like that. You want energy independence? We build new power plants, nuclear energy. Fantastic technology. It's safe. It's not going to blow up like the old reactors. And it is a massive energy return on energy invested. Instead, what do we get? Climate agenda. Joe Biden freezing fossil fuel leases. Prices skyrocketing. It's going to cost you more money for food. There will be civil unrest if the costs get too high. And that's where we're headed. So thanks, Joe Biden. Let me give you a more blanket statement. Donald Trump was pro-energy production, pro-America, removing regulations to allow companies to produce more easily. This made gas cheap. Speculators were like, I think demand will be met. Joe Biden comes in and he says, come on, man, my agenda's way different. Shut her down. No more drill, baby, drill, I guess. Well, prices are going up. Pick one, man. George Takei is being slammed because he told everyone to accept higher prices. You know what? I think he's a bad person. And I think it's not really him saying it. We shouldn't be going to war and we shouldn't be accepting high prices. But I will tell you this. If you want these things, then you should be advocating for high prices. And that's basically what George Takei is doing. So I can give him respect for agreeing with his own policies and the problems it causes. The issue is the Democrats don't want to admit it. Because if they come out and they say everything we're doing, or at least a lot of what we're doing, is going to result in your prices going up, people are going to be pissed. Donald Trump was like, I'll make prices go down. They think they know what's best for you. Mike Bloomberg embodied it perfectly when he was like, we should tax the poor. Yeah, he actually said it. It's ridiculous, man. I hope you've taken precautions, and I hope you're getting prepared, because when we shut down Russian oil imports, and maybe there's a good reason to do so, I don't know, the cost of gas is going to be higher than it has ever been. And we're talking about tracking for inflation, too. So I'll leave it there, man. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.